On this episode of Virtual GM, we talk about the trends in the market right now, and we give you 4 tips to best engage your guest. Be sure to stay tuned and listen.
Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual GM podcast. You've got Meagan and Cody, and we are excited to talk about some trends we are seeing in the industry. But in typical Virtual GM fashion, let's rip off a segue. Meg, you want to get us started?
Okay, let's see. Personal. Last night, I went to Anastasia at Tuacahn, which if you're not from St. George, you've never heard of it, it's this amazing amphitheater out in the Red Rocks. And the productions they put on are just outstanding. They're supposed to
be like Broadway quality.
Oh, they are. Yeah. I mean, people come out from all over, right? And then they live here for the season and it's just remarkable. I mean, the cast was insane. So that's my personal.
Well, and our daughter, who's 10, has a friend who's in the show, right?
Yeah, she's small Anastasia. Yeah, so she comes out a few different times.
Wow. How long is she in it?
What do you mean?
Like how long is Jordan's part?
Oh, so it's not that long, right? So she's like in the opening scene and then she comes out again where she's like walking. So not much talking, like maybe 1 or 2 lines. But
still pretty amazing.
Still really cool.
Yeah.
Her mom has seen the show 9 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyways, got over super late, but it was an amazing experience. And then business, I'd say just being able to catch up on work since being gone last week. We really did take an actual vacation and
that was nice.
So getting through, I'm still working through my inbox, but I'd say that's my business.
Okay. Well, my business best, so if you're listening to the show and you've been listening for a while and you've seen the changes, you know that Meagan and I bought out our partner at Vibrant. So we are the sole owners of the company, and that obviously came with some risk and investment. And we were able to pay off our business loan that we got for that acquisition yesterday. So that's a huge, huge milestone for us, faster than we even thought was possible. So, when you take that risk and you believe in yourself, it really paid off, which is exciting. And then for personal, Meagan was with Liv last night, so I got to take our son Cash, and we had a little daddy-son date, and we went to the arcade. We did some putt-putt. We absolutely crushed the ticket game, which is really just gambling for kids, right? Like we played the arcade taxi game that Cash loves so much, and someone had already put like 7 credits in, so we just got to play it forever.
That's amazing.
And we did the skee ball and like the basketball and those other games. But there's the one game where you like put the coin in, it drops down the thing, and then it tries to push coins off.
Yeah.
And that's where we got all of our tickets. And we got like 800 tickets just in one go of that.
That's amazing.
So, and Cash was so great. He got him and his sister both stuff and then put it in a bag and everything. It was really cool. And then we went to dinner to one of my favorite restaurants that Meagan won't never let me eat at, Chili's. Shout out to the bottomless chips and salsa. Important note. Inflation has struck Chili's pretty bad, and chips and salsa is no longer $2.99. So that was pretty heartbreaking. It's like $6.50 now.
That's wild.
So that was tough.
No one's safe.
Yeah. No one's safe. So today, we're basically, a little bit over the halfway point of the year. It's July just wrapped up. So we've got 7 months in the books. And I thought it'd be great to talk about some trends that we're seeing within the industry. And then I thought we'd end, given that, at least for us in our markets, July and August are always a bit of a lull before September and October pick back up. So we're going to give you the 4 tips you need to best engage your interested guests and how to convert those to sales. But we'll start with trends. I pulled up a report here. So like for us, in the month of June, the total revenue for the businesses that we manage was $1.35 million. And then for July, that dropped down to $950,000. So that's a $400,000 drop in revenue over 1 month. And that's for the properties that we manage. That for is 15 different properties. So if you take that 400,000 divided by 15, I mean, that's $26,000 on average per property.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's a significant drop. And we kind of saw it leading up to it. 4th of July, which was like on a Thursday this year.
Yeah.
So it was set up to be
amazing,
the best 4th of July ever. Like you could possibly grab a Wednesday and then get the entire weekend. And we kept watching. So we do all of our revenue management, and we're looking at rates every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And so we're watching it. And the 4th of July just didn't fill up.
Yeah, it's so strange.
And it kind of stayed that way. And what was interesting is that we had one property that was really ahead of the game for 4th of July. And they ended up getting cancellations like last minute. So they ended up they ended up being behind too. So kind of an interesting spot here. I would say overall, because we do annual marketing plans at Vibrant. So we spend like the last little bit of Q4 to kind of project out what our strategy is going to be for so this year we'll do it for 2025. And then we take that overall strategy, which we're predicting ADR and occupancy and your revenue. And then we're going to take that and break it down into quarters. And then we also we already at that time think about what our email campaigns and things going to be. And so we had just barely done all of our Q2 reviews. And I would say for the most part, Q2s were pretty successful for all the properties. Like I'd say, thinking back, most hit their targets or were really close to their target. But if they missed, they were at least up year over year. So we are seeing that. But it seems like we're having a different strategy. I'm curious, Meg, being on the phone with guests, what are some things that you're seeing?
I mean, we're just not getting a lot of calls. It's interesting. And I don't know if it is the weather or I don't know. It's strange because when we started in this, when I did, right, it was like 2021. And so I don't know.
2021, what a crazy, I didn't realize that's when you started.
There really has not been like a normal year. Like I don't know what to even base it off of, right? Because the travel has been so different.
Yeah.
I feel like. And so I think now we're like kind of getting back into like what travel actually is.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is interesting. And so, yeah, we're not getting a lot. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like budget costs, right? People not being able to afford to travel.
I mean, I just talked about my chips
expensive.
and salsa being twice as expensive as it used to be.
But like even us traveling, right? I mean, it is so expensive. And it's like,
it's shockingly
almost a
expensive.
punch in the gut, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we stayed on the last trip that we did, we stayed at friends' houses.
And we thought we were going to just really make out really good. Like just not much money spent. And yet we still, like, it still cost us so much money.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
So yeah, I'm not getting a lot of calls. It's interesting. And I don't know what contributes to that.
Well, I mean, even Cash and I at Chili's last night, it's Chili's.
Yeah.
I think our bill is $76.
For you and a child?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
You know, he got a Sprite. The Sprite was $3.50. It's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Costs 3 cents.
That's why you don't drink soda.
Yeah. And he didn't really. He just drank his water, which is good.
But their water's terrible, so.
Yeah, their water is. Yeah, that's a weird thing about Chili's.
Their water is the worst.
Yeah, so it is expensive. And also one thing that we do track on annual marketing plans is phone calls. And that there was definitely universally a dip in phone calls from last year in Q2, both quarters really, and now. So that's an interesting thing. Funny to think back that you started in 21. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so it's never been consistent.
Because 21 was crazy.
Yeah. It's been interesting. And so this year definitely has seemed a lot slower.
Well, we do, at least regionally specific, we have so much saturation. We have so much competition.
It's true.
There's so many more rooms. There's so many more doors. You're competing digitally with so many more properties.
It's true. And I guess since then, how many properties have opened near the
That's what I'm
properties
saying.
I manage?
Yeah.
So many.
Thousands of rooms, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was going to talk about too is we've done some things this year we've not done at times past. So like in many instances, we're charging less than we did a year ago. But for example, let me pull one up. So one of our properties, I won't name them since I'll kind of talk about their rates, but they're having a great year. So far this year, let's see, they've had 29 weeks that have been done so far. And they've only been down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 of those 29 weeks that they've been down year over year in revenue. So really good. But they've only been up in ADR for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So 24 of the 29 weeks that they've had year over year, they've been they've gotten less in ADR than they did in years past. But they're up a bunch in revenue. So in revenue, they're up almost $42,000, and this is a small 12-room property. But their average ADR is down by $42 a night.
Wow.
So we had to completely shift our strategy and charge less but earn more, because I think of the competition as part of the reason that we had to do that. Another great example of another property I'll pull up, same type of thing. So we'll look at their June. So this property's up in the Northeast, and in June they finished, oh shoot, I don't have their year over year, but they finished up 82% year over year for June.
Wow.
And same kind of thing. We had to take a completely different strategy, but in doing that, their June occupancy was about 83%, so right in the sweet spot, and their average ADR over that period of time was 284, so really, really healthy. But yeah, so we're definitely seeing different strategies. The other thing that we're doing that's different is we've actually participated more with OTAs.
Yeah, we have been running a lot of promos. Well, and I think you just have to be able to pivot, right?
Yeah.
You can't just have one, way of doing it and expect that to work always, right? And that's okay.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a tool that's available, and if you need the tool, then pull it out of the toolbox.
Yeah, which is interesting because one of our properties, right, we were like direct bookings. And for a while, that's all we were getting, the OTA portion was so small. And now we've really actually used that to drive traffic. So I'm seeing so many more, which is interesting. And
our goal is, for our portfolio is still to have it around that 15% mark, but we just barely ran a report for one of our properties in the Northeast. So this is their bookings from May through July. So another smaller property, I think 12 rooms, they had 850 room nights booked during that time. 66 were on Airbnb, 82 were booking.com, 117 were Expedia, and then 8 were Stash.
Interesting.
So if you take all of those into consideration, that's 273 of their 850, which would be 32%. But when I think of OTAs, like, I wouldn't consider Airbnb or Stash an OTA in the traditional sense, right? Because we want Stash and Airbnb guests.
Right.
So those are, like, Stash is basically direct.
Yeah.
And Airbnb in some ways is better than direct because you're protected.
Sure.
Oftentimes the rate is higher because you're getting a cleaning fee we might not otherwise be. So if you take out Airbnb and Stash, then this particular property's OTAs is still only at 23%.
That's not bad.
Considering all of the promos that we've been running and stuff is really pretty healthy. And Stash actually has a promotion they're running to help with OTAs right now. So we're gonna test that at that property and see how that goes. But those are a couple of the things that are definitely different. So I would say, if you're struggling with your revenue, invoke some of those strategies. And then we also use tools. So, we primarily use Duetto and TakeUp. We've used Duetto longer because they worked with WebRes Pro, and TakeUp is a little bit newer. We just had an awesome call with them. They are now integrated with WebRes Pro too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. I love TakeUp's screen. It really shows you where you're performing so well. And so, like, we've got a property in the Southeast, about a 36-room property. Let me pull theirs up really quick. They have been on Duetto the entire year, and that's been really cool to see because they would probably be a little bit more hesitant on rate and charging more. And so far,
TakeUp?
No, like the hotel itself
It's on Duetto.
No, this hotel's on TakeUp.
Yeah, you said Duetto.
Oh, yes, this hotel's on TakeUp, and they are probably hesitant to charge more than they really could. And when we look at their second half of the year, because it takes a little bit for TakeUp to really get going, but their average ADR for the last half of the year is up $97 a night.
Whoa.
Right now on pre-booked revenue. Now, ultimately, we'll probably reduce some of that as we get closer if we need, but it gives us the opportunity to do that. So, like, this particular property, there's a week in August where they're already up $9,200 year over year, and their ADR is up $255 a night for that week. They've got another week where their ADR, and they've already got a significant amount of bookings here. ADR is up $419 year over year. This week, with a solid booking week already, up $248 year over year. And so it's just allowing the AI and the tools to know more than we could ever know.
Well, and it also takes out your feeling about it, right?
Yeah, well, I think that was part of it. The owners and the GMs.
You're stopping yourself because you don't want people to pay more than what you think they should, when in all reality, they're going to pay whatever rate you put. You know what I mean? If they
supply
want
and
to stay
demand.
there.
Well, I mean, again, back to the chips and salsa. I didn't look at it. I just knew I wanted the chips and salsa.
Would you have not gotten it if you knew it was $6.50?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
I don't think so. That's tough. Thank goodness it's bottomless, you know? But so those are some great tools. Obviously, we exist. So if you're in the need of even just revenue management, we can certainly help with that. But the AI tools are amazing too. You can also replace a revenue manager or a team if you're really good and comfortable with those tools. I think you always want those human eyeballs.
For sure.
And so the fact that we're looking at it at a minimum of 3 times a week, plus our owners are usually also in there. And so you've got eyeballs on it damn near every day. And really, it's a minimum of 3 times a week. And then if we have your call that week, then it could be 4 times a week. And so really just keeping a high focus on that. Marketing has been a little bit different this year. Our goal is always to get a 5 times return. And we're still delivering on that. But I feel like there's times last year we're getting 20 times return. 15 times return, and right now we're really at 5 times return.
Wow.
So we're just not converting at the same rate that we were, which I think probably ties to demand. But those are kind of the trends that kind of catches you up to where we are currently with the market, what we're seeing. What I will say is pretty much collectively across the portfolio, August is about flat overall, but September and October look really good at all the properties. So really excited to see kind of how we finish out quarter 3 and then a nice little kickstart to quarter 4 with October. But now we want to give you the 4 tips to best engage your interested customers. I didn't share the tips with you, did I?
You didn't.
I did not.
You will be delivering them, yes.
Okay, so tip number 1, I'll have you talk about it though, but tip number 1 is you got to have a compelling offer. So we're talking about this crowded space and all of the offerings and all of the different places to go. And so you need to have some way to quickly engage your guest to let them know this is the best thing you can do. And so if you go to any of our websites right now and check their URL, you're going to see a pop-up on every single one. And every one of those pop-ups is going to give you the best rate possible to book with us. Now, most of the time, we focus on length of stay because every additional night you get a guest to stay, your profitability increases quite significantly. And so ideally, we're going to do a stay 3 or more, get 25% off, basically 1 night free. Depending on the market, sometimes we have to do 2 nights or 3 nights, but either way, that additional night is always going to be more valuable. And the reason that we use a pop-up is we're spending all that money on marketing. We're in this very crowded ecosystem. And so most people aren't even going to stay on a website for 45 seconds. So you don't have a lot of time to convert them. And so we just very quickly want to get them right to the best offer and hit them with a pop-up. And I think it'd be good for you to kind of share, Meg, because I know you've converted a lot of people with that length of stay as you're taking calls for different properties. And so what's your feedback on having an offer like that or anything that you can use to close people over the phone?
Well, I definitely see people liking that promotion, right? Anybody likes a discount. Everybody likes a discount, right? If I'm thinking about staying 3 nights, but I know if I stay 4, I get that 4th night free. Like, why wouldn't you stay? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's nice to use that to get people to stay longer. And we really do have that at every property.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's just
and you see a lot of people book further out with those promos, which is nice.
Right.
You know?
Better for housekeeping schedules, better for wear and tear. Everything about it is better.
Right.
And we always track that too. So we've got a dashboard that keeps track of all of your marketing metrics, and we're always going to keep track of your promo revenue and how you're doing. And oftentimes the promo revenue is the most lucrative tool of all of our marketing efforts. Mm-hmm. So number 2, constant contact with past guests. So this is a big one. The best guests that you have or you can get are the ones you've already had. You've already built that equity with them. They already trust in you. A couple things that are really important there are TripAdvisor, because people are going to go back and look at, especially if like maybe they stayed with us in 2021,
right,
and they're thinking about coming back in 2024. Let's check TripAdvisor and see if it's still the same. And so I know, Meg, you're pretty heavily involved with TripAdvisor. You're checking every week for properties. Any insights you have to share on that?
Ooh, insights about TripAdvisor. I reply to every single review.
Yes,
I don't know if it helps or not. I'm not sure, but I do it.
Oh, I think it absolutely does, because it shows the potential guests, that this property is actively engaged in their guest responses.
But we also ask our guests, right, for TripAdvisor reviews, like through our messaging. And if they have a great stay, we send them the link. So it makes it super easy. I think using that tool is really nice. And it actually drives quite a bit of reviews. I don't know how many we would get if we weren't asking for the reviews.
Oh, infinitely less.
Yeah.
Infinitely less. And then there's really cool properties out there too. So I had the pleasure of meeting Cameron Dijon. He is with Directful, and Directful is this text messaging tool that is amazing because people interact with text so frequently. And so you can set it up to like text them on their birthday, or it'll like the system will know like, oh, they've not been here in 6 months. I'm going to send out a promo text message. You remember that call we had with him? Mm-hmm. And so that's a great tool that's out there. We already talked about our email campaigns. So we plan our email campaigns out before the year starts. And so we're being strategic. We know that Tuesdays are usually the best day for openings. So that's usually we'll send it out on the second Tuesday of the month. And then we're trying to talk about something that's within a 30-day window. So if we know there's a marathon coming up, that's an opportunity, then we're going to talk about that 30 days before, because that's typically when people are going to book. So you got to stay in contact with your guests. Another thing that we love to do is a return guest promo.
Yeah, that's huge. 15%.
Yep.
Give them a code. They can book as many times as they want with that code, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. We do see a lot of return guests.
A ton of return guests. So number 3, this is your retargeting. So this is a marketing strategy. Meta is great for this. So when you, we're not as advanced as, Instagram. We don't listen to your phone. So like if you talk about the dwellings, it's not going to just show up on your Instagram, but we do use retargeting. So if you've gone to the dwellings and you went to the website but didn't book, and then you're on TripAdvisor or you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook, we'll show it back up for you, or some banner ads on like a USA Today or something like that. So you want to have a retargeting plan set up. Meta's great for all of your top of funnel and retargeting. And then number 4, this is so important. This is why Virtual GM is such a great success, and what a great way to end the episode. You've got to have a strong team answering the phone and also answering the phone. So we had a property that paid for Blueprint Creations. Brad Anderson is an amazing hospitality trainer, and he will do mystery calls for your properties. And this one particular property, he couldn't even get them to answer enough to actually do the mystery calls. So think about if you're the property and your phone's ringing and no one's answering it, how many dollars you're leaving on the table. Because think about how many reservations you make over the phone.
Yeah.
And like we at one of our properties in the Northeast, they just gave us the approval to be able to use compelling offers. Like if they're on the phone, I'm like, okay, thank you. We're going to say, well, hold on real quick. Well, why is your reasoning for not booking? What would it take? And they've given us some freedom to be able to make some changes and close a sale. So I think that's so important. But those are your 4 tips. So you want to have a compelling offer, have constant contact with your guests, have a retargeting campaign, and most importantly, have a strong team answering the phone. If you don't have a strong team, you know who does?
We do.
That's right. Virtual GM. We will do that for you. Thank you so much for listening and being back with us on another episode of the Virtual GM podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can catch next week's episode. We have the CEO of Hover. It's an amazing technology that will bring your website to life. His name is Jason, and it's an episode you will not want to miss. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.